to, through all the way up to all that jazz, we have Mr. Gene Foote. Now, when did you first start with Bob? I've forgotten.
Well, I guess I have to go back to, I'm from the mountains of Tennessee, and I come from a place where boys did not dance. There were two things that boys didn't do. One was you weren't a nurse, and you weren't a dancer. Anyway, so I was lucky enough that in my first year in college, my student counselor knew that I wanted to be in the theater and helped me get an apprenticeship at the Barter Theater in Abingdon, Virginia, where I spent my very first summer as an apprentice acting. And while I was there, I met a wonderful woman who was an alcoholic, who was the wife of a man named John Hilton, who wrote Far Horizons, Beyond the Horizon, that one. And she gave me some money, and I hitchhiked to New York. And on my way, I was coming through Washington, D.C., and there was a musical playing there called Damn Yankees with Bobby Clark, Sherry O'Neill, and Harvey Honecker. And I went to see that show, and it was the first show I had ever seen. And when the boys started to do the little baseball walk in the Shoeless Joe number, I truly said, I can do that. I can do, you know. And so I knew I had always been the best dancer in school. So I got to New York. All right. And I met a man who took me to a wonderful cha-cha palace. There were no discos in the 50s, you have to understand. We went to cha-cha palaces. And at this cha-cha palace called the 415 on Amsterdam Avenue, it was in the basement, and men could dance together. And so I was on the floor doing the marango and the cha-cha and the you know, all mambo and everything they were doing. We went back and sat down at our table, and the waiter came over and said, there's a lady over in the corner that would like to say hello to you. And my friend Freddie turned around and went, oh, hi. And she said, come over, bring your friend. So we walked over, and she said, Freddie, introduce your friend to us. Says, this is my friend Gene Foote. And she said, hello, my name's Nora Kay. This is my husband, Herbert Ross. This is Muriel Bentley. This is Hugh Lang. This is Stephen Sondheim. And this is Jerome Robbins. And I said, hi, how are y'all doing? and Mr. Robbins said to me, are you a dancer? And I said, no, I like to dance, but I never did have any lessons, you know. And he said, well, you really should be a dancer. So Nora said, well, Freddie, why don't you bring Gene to class? And I'm standing there, and Fred turned and says, you want to go to class? And I said, well, yeah, I guess so. So that was the next morning. I went to Madame Peryaslavic's intermediate ballet class. That was my very first dance class in my life. And that's how it started for me.
That's
so,
but when did you first start with Bob?
Well, I auditioned for Bells Are Ringing. I auditioned for New Girl in Town. I auditioned for Redhead. Now, he used to give something called run, run, jump, run, run, jump, run, run, jump across the stage. And he eliminated on that particular moment. And I would leave with 2 or 3 spastics. I mean, so I had decided, well, Mr. Fosse does not like me, which broke my heart because I had fallen in love with him when I saw Damn Yankees. So finally, there was a call for the National Company of How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. And so I went to the 46th Street Theater, and I stuck my head in, and I said, is Mr. Fosse here today? And he said, no, Merritt Thompson's taking care of this today. And I said, oh, okay. So I walked in, and Merritt didn't give that. Dale and Merritt did not give that combination. We just started right into A Secretary Is Not a Toy. And we did that, and then we did the Pirate Ballet, and then we did some other stuff. And they asked me to come back to the finals. And so I came back to the finals, and there was Bob Fosse. I was so scared because I said, that man hates me. So I was the first boy he hired. And that was how I got started with Bob. Now, I just have to finish this story because it's a really good story. Opening night of How to Succeed in Cleveland, we were having a little party in a cocktail bar, Cleveland, Ohio. We were having a little party. And Bobby was sitting in a corner in a booth all by himself with a bottle of champagne. And I went over to the bar, and Bobby said, "Hi, Gene." And I said, "Oh, hi, Bob. How are you?" And he said, "Come over and sit down." And he sat down. And he said to me, "Where have you been?" And I said, "What do you mean, where have I been?" He says, "Where have you been? Why have I never seen you before?" And I said, I've auditioned for you before, but I never got to do anything but run, run, jump, run, run, jump, run, run, jump, and you eliminated me." And he said to me, "If I have missed somebody like you because of that, I will never give it again." And he stopped giving that combination and invented T for two.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous.